For God has called you to never give up, to never give up. For God knows the plans He has for you, plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. Welcome back to the Inspiring Hope Podcast. This is your Hope Coach, Destiny Sprague with SacredCareServices.com. Welcome back to episode 20. Before we get any further, go ahead and like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on another platform, go ahead and save this as your favorite podcast so that you don't miss out on any episodes. So, guys, I'm so happy to be back with you. Today's topic is going to be something that I hope that will really help you, because I know that at some point in time, everyone has struggled with this in their life. And so it's just important to bring awareness to why this is important and how we can use it and what it really looks like and what it really means. So today's topic is self-control. And before we get any further, I just want to ask you guys some reflecting questions, like just to meditate on. Has there ever been a time where you can look back and see that self-control wasn't operating? Or was there a time that you tried to have self-control and it just didn't work out? And there may be, you may find some answers in this podcast as we're, discussing the topic of self-control that you may not have been aware of. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the definition of what it means biblically. I always love to look up the definition of a word just so that you guys have the full description. But because everything I do is faith-based, I really want you guys to just not be looking at the worldly definition, but the biblical definition, because that is what stands out in our lives, is what God thinks of self-control and what He thinks of different things and why He's given us and why He most of all tells us to do those things. So self-control biblically means choosing to give up trying to control everything and surrendering to God for help. There may be some things operating in your life, some spirits or some challenges operating in your life that make you want to have control of everything. Anxiety is one. Fear is one. What else? Perfectionism likes to have control of things. Really, our flesh in general likes to have control of things, but our spirit says something different. Our spirit wants what God wants for us, but our flesh wants what the world wants. All the worldly stuff, all the evil stuff is what our flesh wants, let's be honest. So, if we allow our desires to lead our decisions, our lives can quickly spin out of control. Not every desire is healthy. Not every desire that we want is healthy. And God already knows your desires. He knows your true desires. And if He wants you to have those desires, He will give them to you in His perfect timing. Sometimes we want to just have what we want, and so we think that we have to go out and get it in order to receive it. And that's not true. That's not always true. I mean, we do have to do things in the natural and let God work spiritually, but, supernaturally. But it's like, God is the one that knows our heart's desires, and He will give it to us. We don't have to slave to get what God wants for us, especially if we are surrendering to Him daily and asking Him for help. So self-control requires discipline. It's something that I would say doesn't come naturally. It does not come naturally to have self-discipline, because the world is just like the way the world thinks is that you just go out and you do it. You get it done. We've been trained up to go get it for ourselves. To be independent and get what we want for ourselves. And so when we have a relationship with God, we learn to not be independent on ourselves, but to be independent on Him. We have to be depending on God as our strength, as our helper, as our provider, as our protector. We have to rely on God for those things. So if we're trying to do everything for ourselves, what room is there for God to work if it's all about us? We have to stop and realize that we are human beings. We make mistakes. We don't know the future. We don't know how to make good things happen out of the past, not as the same effect as God has, and on working on our past and making things work out for our future. So relying on yourself for everything is going to lead you feeling defeated. And it's something that will overcome you. Like, if you feel like you can do it all, eventually it's just going to consume you. It's going to overcome you, and it's going to be your life. And that's not the life that God wants you to live. So it's like, why is self-control so important, right? It's important because God has a future for you that just can't operate without self-control. You can't obtain that without self-control. So I really just want you guys to just keep that in mind, that you can't obtain what God has for you without self-control. There's got to be some type of self-control operating here. The world considers self-control as just only you. It's all about you. Self-control is about you controlling something. But with holy self-control, this involves you surrendering and God helping you have self-control so that you can overcome life challenges. We know that we cannot do anything without God. When we change our lifestyle, when we change our mindset, when we change our heart posture, we know that there's nothing that we can do without God's help. So we have to choose the holy self-control and not the worldly self-control. So I really want you guys to just reflect on this. Have you been using self-control alone or with God involved? And just really take that to prayer, because it's so important to recognize, are we relying on ourselves or are we relying on God as our helper? Because there's nothing that we can do apart from Him. So I hope this gives you guys some encouragement. I hope this is an opportunity for you to grow and just reflect and learn from maybe times that you haven't had self-control and how you can improve and mature it. So until next time, guys, have a blessed day and keep putting your hope in God.